Wednesday night, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It is the Storage Syndicate Spotlight appointment television for those of us that are man, I'm old. I'm like a generation. I think I'm Gen X. I'm like a generation that, we're ancient now. There's three generations after us. But anyway, welcome to the Storage Syndicate Spotlight. I am Thaddeus Campbell. A lot of you watching may not even remember appointment television, but I remember the Cosby Show, into Friends, into ER, back when TV was something. We don't go on TV anymore. We go on Facebook Live. I am happy to be joined by Steve Murphy. You might be watching us on LinkedIn tonight. We are going live on that platform as well. One way or the other, find us, guys. Do me a favor if you're watching on Facebook, LinkedIn, whatever. Type a boom in the chat if you love yourself some self-storage. Obviously, Steve and I absolutely love this space. As real estate investors, feel so fortunate to have gotten involved in self-storage. For those of you that never heard my story, Steve's is somewhat similar. He didn't quite fail his way into self-storage, but definitely fell his way into self-storage. I failed my way into self-storage as a real estate investor. So I want to see those booms lighten up the chat. You guys that are so deep into self-storage that on a Wednesday night at 7:00, you guys are excited to be learning about self-storage. Love it. I got a boom there. I don't know who that is. It says Facebook user. Unfortunately, I'm on StreamYard, so we can stream onto multiple platforms. Whoever wrote that, man, tell me your name. I don't know if that's I did a seminar last week, and actually that's going to be our topic today, Steve. We did a cool seminar last week, a self-storage site discovery challenge. We had a bunch of people come on, and it was completely free. We were teaching the systems that we use as legacy developers so that, people that are into self-storage can see how we underwrite raw land. What are we looking for? How do we find these sites? What is it that we're doing to be able to have 12 sites that we currently have in development? We've got 7 others under contract right now. We actually, I was sitting down with the boys today, Steve, with Adil and Anthony, the acquisitions team. We meet every Wednesday to go over their sites. They have over 400 sites right now that are in their analyze phase. It is absolutely unbelievable. We have a group of CFAs, what we call certified field agents, that put deals in front of us. And then Adil and Anthony also put a ton of deals on the board, what we call our Monday board, how we keep track of everything. And so what I wanted to do tonight, last week, I had a huge group of people take this free seminar. They submitted to me a ton of sites from around the country. And what I wanted to do for our audience is I wanted to give them some insight on how our team will review those sites, right? So Steve's kind of excited for this one.
Yeah.
This is not his purview. He doesn't do this at all, right? He has some amazing responsibilities in the company, but underwriting raw land is not one of them. This is something I do very frequently. I help run our CFA program. So not only do I do this all the time, I teach our certified field agents how to do it. So really excited to share with you guys a little insight into how are we looking at raw land. And as you may have seen, as I was putting this live out to the Facebook, that rewound the clock a little bit, watching the social network, the original name of the platform. I'm old, guys. Leave me a little bit of slack here. As we advertise this on Facebook, I talked about how do you save due diligence costs? And there's 2 big costs in due diligence. One of them is money. And obviously, we don't want to lose money on due diligence if we don't have to. The more clear we are on our metrics that we want for a site, the less money we're going to waste on sites that don't eventually meet those metrics. Anybody in the chat care to tell me what the second big resource that we have that we're going to put into due diligence is? Money is number one. The first one I listed. It's actually not the most important. Oddly enough, as you start to raise your mindset and you get in this entrepreneurial game and you put yourself around big time developers, big time successful people, operators. We interviewed Storage Mart a few weeks ago, Alex from Storage Mart. they're huge operators. When you get around these people at these very high levels of success, you realize that money is not the most important commodity that they have. So the first one, I'm not seeing any comments in the chat, so I'm going to give away the answer. I try to stall there for time, but the second one is time, right? Your time is just as valuable as your money. So if we take a deal and we put it into our pipeline and we spend due diligence time on that deal, what that does automatically is it eliminates time that we might be spending on another deal. And so if we're not very clear on our metrics and we have this buckshot of what we're looking at, then what happens is we might miss a deal that fits much more comfortably into our metrics. And so we want to be very, very clear. We want to have a very clear picture of what it is we're looking for so we do not waste our time looking for stuff that will never make it across the finish line, because we might miss a project that would have been a winner because we're wasting our time on something that is not a winner. So guys, I'm going to share my screen and I'm going to dig into a few sites. I got a few sites lined up tonight that my students from last week presented to me. And quite frankly, if you're watching tonight, all of you who joined me last week for those 3 30-minute classes, man, you guys were absolutely phenomenal, super engaged. And not only were you super engaged, you turned over great sites to me. So it was actually really cool. Quick note, Steve, for everyone watching. Oddly enough, as many people as contributed to this, I only got one site around the country that was submitted by two different people. There was only one overlap. And I told you we have 400 sites in our analyze segment. That means they've already done this piece of it. We've already gone through the preliminary underwriting. We've done a little deeper underwriting, what we call a Radius report. Radius is online software that we use to pull some demographics on a site. They made it past that step and have gone into the analyze phase. We have over 400 there, and none of these sites overlapped any of those sites. It was pretty cool. So I know sometimes people, Chris, you're very welcome, man. And Chris is one of our stud CFAs. Talk about putting amazing sites on our board all the time. He's got a couple sites that are coming close to being under contract for us. So really excited for him. Want to share with you, I'm going to share my screen and want to share with you guys a couple of these sites that my students from last week shared with us. So let me get off the screen. So this is 0 West Farms Road. One of our CFAs happens to be, one of our students last week happens to be from New Jersey. This is in Howell, New Jersey. This is LoopNet, and we use LoopNet. I know you guys didn't, not all of you took the course last week, but we use LoopNet as a free resource. When I was marketing this piece for today, I shared with you guys what we can do that's free, that doesn't cost us money to be able to do our due diligence. And we'll go on LoopNet and we'll look for sites. This one is 14.86 acres. It is a very large parcel of land that's available in Howell, New Jersey for $2.499 million. Really quick metrics for you guys. If you have a pen and paper, might want to write some of these down. It is very hard to get a self-storage development project to pencil. In other words, for the math to work, to make it a profitable endeavor, if you're paying more than $250,000 per acre. This is 15 acres and it's $2.5 million. So we know that we're well under that $250,000 per acre. So just on a cost per acre basis, this land is at a pretty good price. Now, on the flip side of that, it is a very big parcel of land. At 15 acres, it has got a lot of extra land than what we would likely use in order to do our self-storage development. A couple things that I like right off the bat, right? This West Farms Road is a white road on Google Maps, but State Road is a yellow road. We like yellow roads on Google. They're a little more heavily traveled. That's just an immediate thing that I'm seeing as I look on this little picture on my screen on the marketing. There's a stoplight right there. I'm very familiar with Route 9 in New Jersey, very heavily traveled road. down by the Jersey Shore, the northern part of the shore, up in the Brick Toms River area of New Jersey, which is where Howell is. So there's a couple things that jump out at me right off the bat. So I'm going to just run through this. It is zoned commercial. This doesn't mean a whole lot at this point, guys, just for your all's information. And if you're taking notes, the where self-storage is allowed from municipality to municipality differs incredibly, right? So it could be, there could be so many different uses for a particular property type, right? Commercial in one community doesn't necessarily mean the same thing as commercial does in another community. So we're going to first underwrite this to just see, is it something that we even want to look at? And then we can go back and we can do a quick zoning check with people to see, are we going to be able to build what it is that we might like to be able to build? So we can see here, it actually says most commercial uses permitted, retail, hotel, self-storage. Of course, we're not going to believe the commercial broker, right? We're going to do double check and do our homework. But right off the bat, this is definitely worth me spending a couple extra minutes digging in. So next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Google Maps. I've already pulled this up. And I'm going to look at my site on Google Maps, right? This Evergreen Cemetery. This is very interesting because the way that the LoopNet makes it look, when I go back here, this big old red box, the way it makes it look is that I'm literally sitting on a cemetery. Well, that's, I don't know. So this is definitely the wrong. That is not Route 9. So that's very different than what it showed. Yeah, so it gave me a different address. That's why. So this is our parcel right here. This big old fat piece of land right over here is what they're advertising. Of course, I'll double check this with the broker and make sure that we're all good, but I'm pretty certain now that we're at the right place. I think this is a Chase Bank. At least that's what it said on the other one. That's Route 9. This is West Farms Road. A Home Depot right there. That's fantastic for me. A nice restaurant right down the street. You can see the housing developments as I zoom out. What I want to see is I want to see a lot of population, right? And I'm definitely seeing a lot of population in this area. Maybe would like it to be even a little more densely populated. There's a lot of land there that's not covered with houses, but like what I'm seeing. Route 195 right here, very heavily traveled, people going from, Philadelphia and North Trenton right out to the shore. So this is a very heavily traveled Belmar and Spring Lake. For those of you that are not in New Jersey, Asbury Park, if you guys are familiar with Bon Jovi, this is the area of the country that Bruce Springsteen and Bon Jovi are from. Very well-traveled road for people going out to the shore. So, there's going to be a lot of traffic on Route 9 in this area. I see an Acme down the street on top of the Home Depot that was next door. Very happy with what's going on in the immediate vicinity of this. So again, it checked another box. I know that there's a population base there. I know that there's some really nice retail stores there. Makes me feel very confident that the local economy, the median income in the area is going to be strong. Obviously, we live in New Jersey. We know this area very well. This area of the shore is very well to do. So I know when my median income numbers come back, I am very likely to actually be well above the 60,000 that I'm looking for. That's a really good sign. By the way, I know that it's got to be over 60,000 because this I Play America place might be the most expensive place in America to spend a day. Speaking from personal experience, do not go there with your children if you want to leave with some money in your pocket. That's just my own personal 2 cents. So what I'm going to do next, I got a little sidetracked there, guys, but I tend to do that.
Thad, before you go further, real quick.
Yeah. Yep.
So you touched on commercial and how that can be municipality to municipality.
100%.
You're going to reach out to the broker. Understand that. Is there something that you would like? How often is it seeing retail? Like, does that get shot down? But no, we only want retail here. Or like, is there something that you can say this makes me feel better? Whether there's like a maybe
so
a
that's a fantastic question, and it's part of our process, and it's why we have a system. It's why we've set up an order of events through which we investigate these facilities, because those conversations, first of all, they don't always happen in a matter of minutes. what we'll do is we'll reach out to the broker, but man, the brokers will, they look, don't trust the broker. That's all I'll tell you. That's like sitting at a poker table and trusting when the other person tells you what hand they have, right? The broker's job is to get you under contract. And look, there's some great brokers out there that are super honest and have a long-term vision of your relationship. There's other brokers, not so much. I literally saw a listing one time on LoopNet that was listed for commercial, and the property was actually zoned for agricultural, and you couldn't use it for any commercial purposes at all. And I was like, how do you have this listed as commercial? And he was like, well, a farm is a commercial enterprise. And I'm like, dude,
Oh,
you know,
wow.
you just wasted my time. So moral of the story, guys, is we are going to go right to planning and zoning. We are going to call the individual municipality and we're going to have that conversation. But Steve, to answer your question, we're not going to do that right at the beginning. We're going to run this through the things that we can do free first. Why? Because those things that we can do free are very quick. We can
Okay.
do them with a very good expedience, right? They don't take a long time. When we start to go and contact the planning and zoning, it takes time. And in fact, we'll go one step further and we'll do our first paid due diligence, what we call a radius report. A lot of you guys watching might be familiar with Radius Plus. There's a couple other software, web-based software programs you can use. Yardi is a pretty popular one. We happen to use Radius Plus. We'll pull metrics with Radius Plus. I was talking about the population and in fact, I'll do that for this. You guys are really going to get to see behind the curtains. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna do it, but I'm not gonna do it right now. I'm gonna show you the Radius Plus report for this site in a second. Before I show that, I want to go to the next step of what I can do that's completely free, which is to check nearby. You see the little nearby button on Google Maps, nearby self-storage. I'm going to do a quick couple minute scan to see what's there. And so what I'm seeing, Steve, this is a little bit concerning,
Mm.
right? I've got not a huge population right here. But I've got 5 other facilities right in the immediate vicinity. So I got an iStorage here, which is a very well-known management company. I'm going to just click. What I'm going to do, guys, is I'm going to go on here and I want to see what are they getting for rates. I'm going to look at a 10 by 10 unit. This is non-temperature controlled. I want to see something around $167 a month in store. I'm not so much worried about the web rate, guys, because the web rate, they're using that web rate to draw people in. I'm much more worried about the in-store rate. That's probably more reflective of what they're actually getting for rent from their current tenants, right? A lot of times this web rate will be like a 1 or a 2 or a 3 month rate, and then you'll bump up automatically to what the in-store rate would be. This 10 by 10 medium indoor first floor, $188. That's a pretty good sign for me, right? I don't love this 10 by 15 being under $180, right? That's a 150 square foot unit. It's an extra half again as big for less money. But they only have a few units available. So I'm not overly concerned here with what I'm seeing from a price perspective. Pretty good prices, not fantastic, but pretty good. That's one. I'm going to go right through these, guys. I'm going to take a couple seconds. That's easy storage. Let's see what they got going on here. I can see this is also more, Steve. You can see this is kind of like an older, like, not a commercial grade facility. It's kind of more of a class B or a C facility where it's an old style um, build, and they don't even advertise their rates online, which is a little bit interesting. Let's see what they got for
Yeah, I was going to
specials
say,
here.
like, when you see those 5 or 6 that are there, is it more intimidating or is it more appealing when they're all like kind of bigger companies that we all know versus your mom and pop?
So love that question, right? You can see iStorage is pretty decent size. I've got a public storage and a U-Haul, which obviously are
Mhm.
very well known. Easy Storage and Zach Storage, not so much. And you can see the type of facility. Like just when I look at the pictures, I mean, they certainly don't look terrible, but they're dated, right? This is not somebody who's going to compete with my clientele person for person. You can see the concrete's older, the
Mm.
steel's marked up a little bit. It's not a facility that you can see the kind of old style build, we used to call this in self-storage is like the fortress style where everything's closed off. You can't see from outside. What we've learned over the last 10 years is that a lot of our clientele don't like that. They don't feel comfortable. A big percentage of people that rent self-storage now are women, well over 50%. And in fact, the biggest single demographic is single divorced women. And so women, especially maybe a little older, they don't want to be in a place where they feel unsafe. So we might not compete too much with these people from a lot of our clientele. You can see they don't even have a 10 by 10 available there. So that's a really good sign for me, Steve. Like if they don't have, this is like an older dated facility, and all these like around 100 square foot units, a 9 by 10 or a 10 by 10, they don't even have them. So that's a good sign for me. If I click on medium up here, that's going to take, that actually went to bigger ones. They have a 10 by 15 and a 10 by 20, but they're pretty full. And I'm not too stressed about Zach's storage. Public storage, I'm a little more worried about. You can see it looks a little bit more like a retail center. Still a little bit of an older type facility though, right? It's not that new style where you've got a really nice exterior facade and you're really drawing people into a retail type facility. Let's see what they got for a 10 by 10. This is what I really want to see, right? I've got a 10 by 10 climate control on the first floor, $169 a month web rate, 201 in store. Guys, know this. Public Storage, monster company, unbelievable company, really high performing stock. Their stock is trading in the high 200s. Very well run company. They are not nice. They are not friendly. They are not trying to play with all the other people on the block. So a lot of times what self-storage will do is their advertised rates online will be really low because they want everyone else that might think of coming there to develop just like we're doing. They want people not to do that. So they'll lower their rates even though they're really close to full and they're getting really good occupancy. So the fact that public storage is at $169, remember I said that $167 number, that number represents $20 per square foot of storage per year. So if you were to rent 100 square feet, you would be paying $2,000 a year. 2,000 divided by 12 is 167. That's where I come up with that number. That $20 per square foot number is a pretty good metric for us that when we build this thing from the ground up, which is costing us right now $110 to $120, depending if we do single or multi-story, we're likely going to be able to make some money. Now, this U-Haul, guys, this is the type of commercial facility I'm talking about. You can see just from the pictures, right? It's got clear windows. You can actually see the interior units through the outside windows. This is the kind of facility I'm talking about is this generation, and we call it 5th generation in self-storage facility. This is going to be pretty indicative of what our facility is going to look like. And so I definitely want to check their rates and see, what it is that I might be able to expect. 10 by 10 interior climate control online, their web rate, they don't post their in-store rate, but if their web rate is $155, that's definitely something that's going to be worth me going to look at, right? So I've actually taken a little longer than I normally would with this, guys. We're about 15 minutes into me digging into this particular site. But I wanted to show you a little bit of the process, and I got to slow it down a little bit so you guys can see. Now, if I zoom out even further, this starts to make me a little more nervous. Why? Well, because there is just a ton of self-storage there. And there is what we call square foot per capita. There is 6.1 square feet of storage for every human being in the United States, right? That's the square foot per capita. Now, we don't know exactly scientifically how much storage a particular community can endure and still have enough customers to go fill it up. What we do know is that if you have a couple new facilities in a particular area and they already have an amount of self-storage that is at or above that 6.1 number, you're likely going to have a harder time leasing up and getting to your economic occupancy. Economic occupancy means you're not only renting all the units, but you're renting them at the price that you would expect to get in that market, right? You didn't discount the rate just to get a tenant into the store. So with this much self-storage in the area, it's a little nerve-wracking for me, especially because you can see all this green here. This is borders on what we call the Pine Lands in New Jersey. This big area of green, there are a lot of restrictions on your ability to build, which means that in this site in Howell, it is very unlikely that we're going to get a ton of new residential development, right? Because it is a process to go through the Pinelands Commission in New Jersey. Now, we know this again because we're in New Jersey. This is part of the fun of being a developer and looking for stuff in your area. So some red flags here, but all in all, definitely something that I would move on to my team and I would let us do at least that first report. I promised you guys I was going to show you the radius report for this, and I had it all teed up because I actually did my homework tonight, Steve. I was raring and ready to go. Now, can you guys see this on your screen?
Yeah, we can.
Steve, you seeing this loud and clear? Okay, so
Yes.
I remember this red circle represents the 3-mile radius of this site. Our site is the white dot. What this is also showing me is not only are there 5 existing facilities, there's another one planned in the pipeline, right? Now, I'm not going to run away because something's planned in the pipeline if every other number works, because plenty of things go into the pipeline and never get built. So I'm not just going to, be a scared little kid and run away. I'm going to do my due diligence. However, if I know there's something in the pipeline and it already is borderline, then I'm going to call it a day, and discretion is the better part of valor. So you can see the square foot per capita number in this 3-mile radius is 11.7. There is almost 12 square foot of storage per person in the 3-mile radius. And there's another half again as much planning to be built, almost half as much, right? So now I'm looking and I'm like, nah, this is a little scary for me, right? I'm going to look at one more thing before I bail, because Steve, what do you think is the single biggest determining factor in this step of the game?
Whether or not you can fill it up, right? Whether.
I know I'm going to fill it up, guys. Here's the thing about storage. People love their junk. I'm going
Right.
to be able to fill it up. The question is not whether I will get this facility full. The average occupancy of self-storage in the United States is 92%. I am going to fill the thing. By the way, remember that there's 7% turnover on average per month. So 92% full really means 99% full. Because at any given time, 7% of the people are moving out, right? So, excuse me, self-storage around the country is essentially completely full. It's really phenomenal. So I'm going to be able to rent it out. The question is, what am I going to
Rates.
make when I rent it out, right? How much money am I going to make, right? And I told you guys, this 10 by 10 unit, I want to be getting $20 a square foot. I'm getting 23 for non-climate. This yellow represents non-climate. You can see the I storage and the public storage, and it's broken down. These arrows are upstairs or downstairs. They're really digging into different metrics, climate control. They're telling me a lot of information about this. What I'm seeing is these numbers look really good, but we've seen rates like this go from $23, $24 in self-storage to 12 very quickly if you put 2 new huge facilities into a market like this, right? So I'm going to just tell you guys, I love those rates, but when I go back to a couple of screens over and I look at the population, I'd really like to see this number down here in the 3-mile radius be 60,000 people. It's 27,000. Now, for me to fill a 100,000 square foot facility, if every person is going to have about 6 square feet themselves, I need a good number of people. I need 15, 16,000 people to fill my facility, right? Well, there's only 27,000 people in the city in the 3 mile, and they already have 324,000 square feet
Mm.
of storage, and there's another 142,000 coming down the pipeline. So this is really scary for me, and very likely this is not mine to decide here at this point. Once it gets to here, this is Anthony Amuso, unbelievable, our acquisitions lead, and he does this piece of it. But I feel very comfortable in saying that it's highly likely that Anthony would pass on this project just because of the saturation. It looks pretty when you see those $23 and $24 rates, man. You get excited. But last thing you want to do is spend 10, 15, 20 million dollars building a facility and see those rates drop to $12 because you're oversaturated in the market.
So
All right,
I have
go
a quick,
ahead.
and I don't know if this
I'm
just
going to
from
take
living down the
myself off screen
shore
share for
area,
a
right?
second. Wait, are
So
you
looking at,
seeing my? How the heck do
yeah,
I get off screen share?
I don't know what the heck all that is.
That's the infinite look because I didn't stop screen. There we go. I'm going to come off screen share for a second. Go ahead, Steve.
So the Jersey Shore area, now that one's a little bit more inland, so that population is most likely accurate. Now, if you were closer to the shore and these are secondary homes, would that affect the square foot per capita?
Absolutely. And
And
I think that's probably why the square foot per capita there. By the way, guys, the square foot per capita in New Jersey is markedly lower than the national average, right? That area of the shore, for whatever reason, is triple what the New Jersey average is. I think the New Jersey average is in the high threes or the low fours. I don't know it off the top of my head, but it's well below the national average. So yes, that's going to absolutely make a difference. And Steve, this is where this is not a science. This is not a
yeah,
calculus formula. This is a little bit of art, right? You're taking a little green paint, you're taking a little red paint, you're taking a little blue paint, you're trying not to make brown, right?
yeah, because
That's the goal here.
you're thinking about like, just where I used to live. I know you can't find storage down there,
Mm-hmm.
and then you wonder, and some of them, I mean, but a lot of the restaurants, the other things that I guess are coming to play, like everything's seasonal, right? So you have Airbnbs, you have restaurants, they're putting their stuff in storage in the winters, all those kind of things. But again, yeah, your population's low and there's a ton of storage out there. You just drive down Route 9, we just talked about it. I'm just driving down Route
Yeah.
9. You'll see 3 or 4 right next to each other with years
100%.
wait. You can't get in.
I went down to Vineland, past Vineland. I went down to Wildwood, excuse me, for my daughter's soccer game. And I'm driving through these communities that have very, very little population in them. And I'm passing storage after storage after storage. It's unreal. I went down through Vineland, down 55, which for those of us in South Jersey is an alternate way to get down to the shore. I don't know why I went that way, but I did. But to your point, there is way more storage than you would expect there because there's a transient population. There's people that have their shore house down there and they store stuff and put stuff down there. So, it's, by the way, I'm reading a comment from Chris Patrick and he talked about every broker being different. And he's absolutely right, right? Some of them are unbelievable. And guys, if you are going to start looking for land, whether you become a CFA for us or you're doing it for yourself, it is wildly important. I actually talked to somebody today, a fellow developer of ours that we're friendly with. They have 2 sites in our backyard that they have under contract. You know why they got them? They've had a 5-year relationship with a local broker who gave them those sites before they ever hit the market. They were off-market deals because they have a relationship with a commercial broker. It stings a little bit for us. We're a little newer in the game, though. Like, we've only been doing self-storage since 2019, really only ramped up our acquisitions team since 2021. But it's a great lesson. Develop those relationships with brokers and you'll start to see some of these sites before everyone else does. We're getting it off LoopNet in this particular model, which is not terrible, but know that when you're on LoopNet and you're looking for these sites, everyone else is seeing them as well, right? So Chris, great point on the brokers. Develop relationships with the ones that you really hit it off with that take care of you because they are going to be the key to the kingdom long term. All right, second site I want to show you guys. Ulysses Carmota submitted this one to me. Thank you, Ulysses. Real quick, I'm going to look super fast just at the beginning of it. Nice long stretch of land, 10 acres, $2 million. So 200 grand an acre, a little bit lower than what we would be our cap. So that's great, right? It's less expensive than we are typically willing to pay. This is just showing a little survey there. That's the only pictures that they have. I'm going to scroll through here and just see what I see. Mixed use. Industrial self-storage is a
You want to share your
proposed
screen
use.
with that or no? Or just so you know you're
Steve,
not.
I'm so glad
Yeah.
you're here. I did this all last week. Thank you, Facebook
It's all
user, for that. We do not use Crexy. We use CoStar in-house. That's a great question.
good.
CoStar actually owns LoopNet. Um, CoStar we use. We're actually going to be talking to someone from Crexy in a couple weeks.
Yeah.
Oddly enough, even though we don't use Crexy, we're gonna talk to somebody from there. Um, Crexy has a paid version also, similar to CoStar. It is not cheap software, but we use it in house because this is what we do all day, every day. It's definitely worth the investment. All right, now I'm coming back. I'm going to start again from the beginning. 10-acre site. Now you can see my screen. This is in Humble, Texas. Humble, Texas is a northern suburb of Houston. Nice long site, thin, coming off the road. Price is $2 million for 10 acres, so 200,000 square foot, which is probably a little lower than $5 a square foot, which we love. $250,000 an acre. $6 a square foot is the real metric we try and stay under. This is under 5, which is a great price. 10 acres gives us a little bit of flexibility as well. We'll need all of 5 or 6 acres to build 100,000 square feet of self-storage, but the extra acreage maybe gives us some options to add some boat and RV, whatever it might be, something extra. This is what I was looking at where it says proposed use down here. They have self-storage as a proposed use. Again, we're going to have to double check because while it says proposed use here in Houston, fantastic, no zoning. It's literally the Wild West. You can build whatever you want, wherever you want. You find a piece of empty land, you can build the Taj Mahal. You don't need their permission. You have to follow their guidelines as far as your architecture and your engineering, but you can build whatever it is you want. Humble, I'm not sure, so we'll have to check there, and that's okay. We certainly
Looks
don't
like
mind.
Ulysses is on here too, Thad. So if you have any questions, you might be able.
Ulysses, great job. And Ulysses, if you want to ask me questions, don't be afraid to chime in, right? So love this. I'm just looking at the Google map here. I'm going to look at the actual Google map, but we can see the yellow roads all over the place here. George Bush International, Intercontinental. They went fancy with George Bush. Intercontinental Airport, right up the street, which is a beautiful thing. So you've just got a lot of things going on here that, on bird's eye view, is this worth going another step? Absolutely. So we're going to pop over to the Google Maps. I already pulled this up and I'm going to scroll out. The first thing I'm going to do is just look at population. This is clearly very well populated, right? I've got a ton of population. My initial feeling is that, yes, very excited for the population. Got a nice golf course over here. That's cool. The Golf Club of Houston. I'm not familiar with that golf club, but always nice. Says there's some people over there spending a little money golfing. I'm going to zoom in a little closer. Now I'm going to get into some things about this particular site I don't love, quite frankly, right? There is no big draw right here that I think is drawing people up and down Smith Road, right? Mobile owned park right next door. God bless. Everyone has to have a place to live. It's not always the greatest place to be right next door to, especially if you're building a 15 or $20 million facility that's going to be state of the art commercial looking, to be next door to a mobile home park. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do a street view on this one. I didn't do that in Hal. I didn't really feel the need to. You can see they got the big old water sewer drains, whatever that might be there. They're doing some work on the road. Road's a little skinny, guys. For us with self-storage, that can be a little bit of an issue because people need to get in and out. Look, this is not a terrible looking mobile home park, though. The people seem to have kept their yards pretty nice. It's not it's not an eyesore per se, but not the road that is the most easily accessible in the world, right? For sale, this is our land. You can see it's relatively flat. Looks like it'd be pretty easy to build on. So that's not a negative. Not going to be the most visible, and we like visible. On the flip side, guys, this is 2023, and we're still, if it checks every other box, we're still absolutely going to be able to, you're going to get a bunch of people off the web. So, and it looks like this road probably has pretty decent I want to see what's going on down here. No, it's a dead end road. So yeah, I mean, this is not going to be a very highly traveled road. So it's just not going to be a super high visibility site from that perspective, right? These people that live up in this development, maybe they come by. Obviously, the people that live down here, they come by, but there are other ways for people in this development to get up. I think this is a Sam Houston Tollway, if I'm not mistaken. There's other ways for them to get up there, up to Route 8 and to 69. So it's hard for me to believe that a ton of people are going to be driving by this every day. That being said, I'm going to keep digging a little bit. I'm going to
Yeah,
see what we
I was
see.
going to ask a question here too. I just might help Ulysses out, but when you're looking at everything you said, so the very beginning is like, wow, I like the population, I like this, but yes, I agree that specific area, not so much. Now, if you were doing this, would you kind of look around for maybe other parcels on that map, or maybe
100%. The
I
next
see
step I
two?
would make if I was Ulysses is I'd call that broker and I'd say, look, this is exactly the size of acreage I'm looking for. It's the price range I'm looking for. I just need something in a little bit more visible spot, right? I
Right.
need
Okay.
something that's not quite so far. Look, there's a lot of businesses that want to be off the beaten path. They don't want to be where there's a ton of traffic. If you're building something industrial, you don't want to be where everyone else is. But for us, where our clientele is the general public, we do want to be a little more accessible. And you can see it, right? Like if I'm going to look at my competition, I got this Cuban Smart up here. It's right off of Route 8. It's off the access road to Route 8. So I'm going to look, though. I'm going to want to see what their rates are. Let's see what they've got going on for rates and see if this is going to be worth a deeper dive. Outside drive up 147, in store 132, not terrible. In store first floor pretty similar. Climate controlled 178, 151. So those prices are good. They're not so great that I'm like, man, I definitely want to look at this, even though it's kind of off the beaten path. Public storage, nice looking new facility. Let's see what we got. Dude, that's not a good sign.
There
Public Storage's website's not
you
working. That's a bad day. I
go.
actually just looked at this the other day. Store Space is another competitor. Shout out to Shimon Cantor if he's listening. Buddy of mine that works for them, a well-known. You see, this is the old school fortress style. So they either built this facility a long time ago or bought it from somebody. 10 by 10, 153 a month in store, 122 first floor non-climate, climate controlled. They're getting 200 in store. So look, they're getting pretty decent rates there. I'm starting to get swayed, Steve. I'm starting to get
Yeah, no,
swayed. And
sounds
this
like
is
I
what
got
happens.
Ulysses.
Say
Talk to
that
that broker.
again.
Says sounds like Ulysses got to get on that phone. Talk to that broker.
The public storage website all of a sudden decided it was going to work. So this is going to be my make or break. Climate controlled, 159 a month, 199 in store, 2 units left. All right, this pushed it over the top for me. I would definitely run radius on this and just see what we see, right? Here's another thing for you guys to understand. I don't have to pay 2 million because that's what they're asking, right? This is on LoopNet. That means the broker has gone to all his pocket listings. I talked about my friend, the developer that has 2 sites in our backyard. They never got listed. This is not like residential real estate where it is the law that you have to put it on the MLS before you can sell it. You can pocket list everything. You can sell everything off market. So the fact that it made it on market means that it wasn't a super desirable location, which means we might not have to pay full price. The other thing is we're going to look into whether we might not be able to build self-storage here with a bunch of boat and RV. People that own boats and RVs have to have a place to store them, and they are not as picky about where they go to put them. So very easy to see, especially in a place like this. This is Greater Houston. There's people that have boats that come down to down. You can see the bay down here. They go down to Galveston where the shore is down in Houston. There's RVs all over the place. There are people that trek around Texas. So there's options that we can look into, even though this might not be the most ideal location. if we feel we can get rates that are north of $20 a square foot, it's going to be worth digging into and looking. So I got through 2 of the 3 that I set up, Steve. And now I just looked at the clock and I realized that it is 7:44. It is friggin' amazing how fast this 45 minutes goes by every week. Shout out to Jenna Davis, who was in the group last week. I don't think she's watching tonight, but I know she's going to watch the replay. She also joined our CFA course, so I'm going to get a chance to go over. The third site was actually hers and Shason Yavari. That I said there's one site that 2 people put in. So those 2 put the same site, and I was going to go over that last. I just ran out of time, guys. It's 7:45 on a Wednesday night, and
Jenna
I want to
Davis is
respect
here.
all of
Nice.
you. Is she in here?
Yeah.
I
Awesome.
love it. Oh, I love it. Jenna, I'm so sorry. I lied to you. I told you I was going to show you your site, and I ran out of time. You and I will be meeting to go over sites here very soon. So you'll get to do this with me as part of the CFA course individually. And if you're down for it, maybe when we do that one time, we'll actually hop on live on Facebook so we can let people watch while we go through that process. I know Jenna is not as shy. She's a broker up in Ontario. So I know that she's definitely not a person that's going to shy away from that. We can definitely do that and make that happen. Guys, Storage Syndicate Spotlight, it's done for another Wednesday night. Do not forget to tune in next week. My very good friend, some of you may watch, we talked to Bob McIntosh back in December. He joined us out in New Orleans in March. Marketing guru. He has spent thousands of hours speaking from stage. He has trained literally tens of thousands of students in real estate marketing. He is really on the cutting edge of understanding AI. How is artificial intelligence going to impact? Because most people expect that the biggest early impact that AI is going to have is in marketing. So we're going to bring Bob in. We're going to talk a little bit about how marketing may impact real estate as a whole, and specifically in the self-storage space, how we might implement some AI tools to really increase our ability to get these development deals done. So Thaddeus Campbell, Murph, thanks for joining me. Thanks for keeping the questions coming.
Man. I appreciate that. That was fun.
I'm glad you had a good time. You guys, you can't tell that I friggin' love this. I don't know what else I need to do, because I hope that it comes through. Appreciate all of you guys for joining us, and look forward to seeing you guys next week with Bob McIntosh.
Awesome. Thanks, y'all. Thanks for watching.